Hello, everybody, and welcome to Under the Arc Sports. My name is David Woldingen, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about BattleHawks football. However, before I do, please remember to hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook and Instagram pages. Now, the BattleHawks are 2-0, folks. A lot of fun to watch, a lot of nervous energy during these games, and quite frankly, they kind of are picking up the nickname like the old St. Louis Cardinals back when they were in town. Had is the cardiac hawks, if you will, just by how nail biting and how close these games are. One thing I can tell you, XFL, just as entertaining as it was last time around. You know what you're getting with these guys. They're all struggling to make it into the NFL. You're not going to have the crisp, top of the line plays that you would see in the NFL, and it shows in the games. But it also makes these games highly entertaining because you have to take that into effect when you're honestly coaching these games. Because mistakes are going to happen, and you got to play through them, around them, and with adversity, and that's what St. Louis has been doing. Just to give you a reference, defensively, this team is right in the middle of the league, average right between third and fourth defensively in the league. You wouldn't think that for a team that's 2-0, quite honestly. But they're doing just enough defensively to allow the offense to stay in the game and pull off a win, especially in that game one where they didn't do anything offensively until the last minute and a half, 2 minutes. But again, like I said, it's creating entertaining football. Just a little idea defensively of what they do. They do put a lot of pressure on the quarterback at times, force him to make quick decisions. And it allows the corners to stay with their man and not have to worry about scramble drills, kind of like you would see when Mahomes, takes 20 seconds to decide if he wants to throw a ball. It's hard to stay with a receiver when you're covering that long. So by putting pressure on the quarterback, they're not getting sacks, but they're doing enough to disrupt the timing and force quick decisions to end up usually forcing a 3-and-out and whatnot. Like I said, they're giving up drives, they're giving up points. However, it's kind of a bend but don't break defense, and they're fairly decent at stopping the run too. And at the same time, they're forcing turnovers. So put all that combined, and while you have the fourth average defense, you're giving your team enough to allow them to win games. You have Willie Harvey Jr., number 51, and number 27, Mike Rose. Both linebackers for the team are top 5 in tackles. And what that tells me, especially on the run game side of things, the defensive line is doing their job stopping gaps and allowing the linebackers to fill where they need to be filled and make the plays. Without good defensive line play, you're never going to have a linebacker making all those things. So it's a good sign that those two are leading in tackles on the team, because you never want your corners or safeties to, because that means either you're giving up passes or long runs. So based off that, I'd say the defense is doing what they need to do to keep the team in the game. Moving over to offense, again, same thing as I would say on the defense. They're right in the middle, offensively average wise, across the board, right around fourth place in the league out of 8 teams. So smack dab in the middle. Again, if you have an average defense, average offense, that's really enough to keep you in games and give you a chance to win. And that's what they did the first 2 games. That's why the games were such nail biters, if you will. The first game against San Antonio Brahmas, you saw a big glaring issue with the offensive line. They weren't getting pushed on the ball. A.J. McCarron was running for his life in the backfield. Just no offensive flow at all. That's why, honestly, you didn't see much offensively until they went into their 2-minute drill at the end of the game and just marched down the field, kind of like they've been there a million times and just decided to flip a switch and say it's time to win now. And that's what AJ's presence does for you after winning a couple national titles with Bama and having NFL experience, even if it is as a backup. When he was in the NFL, he was known as a play action type quarterback. And what I mean by that is The teams would run a lot of play action plays. They build off the running game and do the play actions to open up receivers, and he would throw downfield towards them. That was kind of the style he played. Haven't been able to see much of that with the BattleHawks, and mainly because the offensive line is not doing a good job blocking. It didn't hurt, or it didn't help the team at all that Brian Hill got hurt in the first game. He was their number one running back. He had 6 rushes for 55 yards. But because of the injury, they had to go to their backup. And again, like I said, that whole first game with the offensive line, total disaster. They seemed to make adjustments going into Seattle, and they played much more cohesively as a line against Seattle, if you will. Were able to move the ball a little more, had something like 88 yards in that game rushing. Still nowhere near where they need to be. AJ McCarron actually, in the 2 games now, is just 2 yards away from being the leading rusher on the team, which personally is never good when your quarterback is leading, unless he's a known scrambler, and he is not. So it's kind of concerning to see that. Your next running back who's played in both games is Mateo Durant, 16 carries for 34 yards. Again, I want to see more. Offensive line needs to do better. If you're talking passing wise with McCarron, though, he's throwing 65%, has 374 yards passing in 2 games, and has 3 touchdowns. On paper, that looks fairly decent, quite honestly. But I would also say, quite honestly, it could be a lot better than it is. He's had quite a few drops from the receivers. And if I'm going to break it down a little bit, we have a lot of receivers who are really tall and somewhat athletic, I would say. I'm not going to say speedy, but they can go up and grab a ball, which is kind of the focus I think this team went for when they were looking through the draft. So they have a lot of tall receivers who can go up and grab balls in the air, if you will. Your top 2 receivers are Austin Prohl. If you remember, his dad is a coach on the team. Ricky Prohl played for the St. Louis Rams, known for his really good hands. Well, Austin, I would say, is the same, has really, really good hands. And then Hakeem Butler has been a nice, pleasant surprise for this team as the second leading receiver on the team. 93 yards with 7 catches, 2 touchdowns. Just finds ways to get open and get the ball. Everyone else, I would say I want more out of them, quite honestly. Like I said, they have a tendency to drop the ball. AJ, especially in game 2, seems to have settled down, and his passes look really, really good. He only had 2 or 3 errant passes that I can remember in that game, especially, even with the line troubles. And like I said, the game 2, the line was playing a lot better. So because of that, he threw 64.5%, right around 65%. I think he could get up to 72, 73 if the guys get their hands shirt up. And I will say that Seattle game was played 30 degrees. These guys all practice in Texas. They probably weren't used to that weather. That could have played a role too. So it'll be interesting to see the offensive adjustments. Again, running game, really struggling. Offensive linemen not opening up holes. Passing game, much improved. They moved the ball, had some solid drives on offense. Didn't wait till the last minute of the game to get anything going, which was nice to see. And I expect to see more of that. I like the look of the offense a lot better in game 2, and I expect to see more of that. If I were making adjustments, I'd continue to work on the running game and the offensive line. It takes time when you have a whole group who's not used to playing in a game together because they got to get used to their own tendencies and gel as a line. And that's why I said this team could have really used a couple of preseason games. But I think this team will do well offensively if they continue to improve. And number one key, I would say, for the offense and defense especially is the turnover battle. If you look across the board, AJ is the only quarterback who hasn't thrown an interception. And St. Louis is the only team who I believe hasn't given up a turnover. I don't believe they gave up one in game one. I could be wrong on that. But and I'm talking about like a fumble or interception, things like that. They've had a fumble or two, but they've recovered it. But they haven't given up intercept. AJ hasn't thrown an interception for sure, I know. You win ball games like that, and that's why they stayed in a game against Seattle. Seattle had 4 turnovers in that game. They could have ran away with it, but the turnovers are what kept the BattleHawks in it. That bend, don't break defense, forcing the turnovers, and then the offense capitalizing on it. So, things I would look forward to in game 3: how well is the line going to play? Can they pick up their pace? Can they continue to start opening up more holes? Can the receivers catch the ball better? They've had a case of drops last couple of games, even though AJ has completed 65% of his passes. That could go way up if they start catching all the ball he puts right on their hands. This team would be much more dangerous. We'll have to see if they continue to improve in that area. And I'd be interested also to see if Brian Hill is able to come back. Again, he had 6 carries, 55 yards in that first game. If you can get him back as your number 1 running back, that could be a huge impact offensively too. What I can tell you is the BattleHawks are going against the undefeated DC Defenders. If both teams are going to have a heck of a game up in Washington, D.C., one of them is going to come out undefeated. Hopefully it's St. Louis, and hopefully we can continue to pack that dome. Anyway, thank you for watching Under the Arc Sports. We'll keep you up to date, all things St. Louis BattleHawks and all St. Louis sports. Until next time, take care.